everybody. Welcome back to Build Better. I'm Matt, and as promised, today we have another special guest joining us on the show. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Let me be the first to introduce Carly Hayne. Carly is the vice president of Rolls Mechanical. Rolls Mechanical is a Michigan-based mechanical contractor specializing in HVAC, refrigeration, plumbing, and electrical services. Carly focuses on building strong teams, developing leaders, and creating systems that support long-term growth in the skilled trades. She's passionate about strengthening the workforce, investing in people, and elevating the standards of the mechanical contracting industry as a whole. Carly Hayne, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
This is going to be a fun conversation. So, backstory a little bit. I met Carly probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago. You came to the office for a kind of a meet and greet. But I've been following you on social for quite a long time, and you tell a great story. So I thought this was an opportunity to tell it even a little bit more. So we'll see where it takes us.
Perfect. I think we're going to talk about some of my favorite subjects, so we should be in good shape.
All right. Well, let's start. Let's go right to the beginning. Your dad used to pull you around to job sites and grocery stores explaining refrigeration systems while mom was inside shopping. Did that sort of stuff actually register with you, or as a kid was it just kind of noise?
I think there's a little bit of noise, but it's something that's really carried with me throughout my career now. And I see it almost in every single skilled tradesman where anything you've had your hands on and you put your pride of workmanship and ownership on, when you're walking around downtown and you see a building that even if you only did the plumbing in or you did the HVAC, you walk by and you're like, I did that one. That was me. That was our team. And so I grew up with that type of appreciation for the skilled trades, even though it wasn't necessarily something I knew was being ingrained in me. And now I'm totally that person. When I'm walking around downtown, I'm pointing out, I'm like, oh my God, we worked there, we did that, we did this. I'm like, the guys did that, how cool. And I mean, I don't know if everyone I'm telling thinks it's as incredible as I do, but I do think it's a common thread that you see woven throughout the skilled trades of people who are successful is they really do take pride in their work and they want to showcase it. Even if it's hidden in a mechanical room or behind some drywall, they're still pointing it out and are really, really proud of it. So I'm glad that my dad instilled that in me so young.
Absolutely. And so I've got three young boys. Well, they're not so young anymore, but they used to get sick of me when we'd be driving around because I do the same thing, right? We built that, we built that, we did this and this, and it's absolutely a sense of pride knowing that your hands or your people's hands physically built this thing or created this thing. So it's something that not many industries have to offer. Certainly not most of them.
Yeah,
It's
and I think people don't consider like how woven everything really is around the skilled trades. So when we're looking at different facilities where and then I point out to, people who know what our family business does and things, but I'm like, oh, we're there working at that, agricultural center and we're in this, like, oh, you see those tomatoes in the grocery store? Like, hey, we refrigerated those. Those got here because, some of the work we do or the pharmaceutical companies we work with, or schools that you're in. And I think, again, people don't connect the dots that, like, oh, the skilled trades are in every one of these buildings, industries, everything. So, I mean, it's part of the reason why I love it so much is just because you never have a boring day. It's all exciting and new. And you could install the same piece of equipment in 20 different locations, but each one has their own unique business and application, and it's endless and it's exciting. So, I mean, I nerd out about it with everyone around me, but I think that's it's a cool way when you start peeling back the layers of how entrenched the skilled trades are in everyday life.
So you are obviously fully ingrained in the tradesman life, but you weren't always, right? You went to U of M, go blue. So did I. So you had options. So let's talk about when this story went from being what your family does to being what you were choosing to do. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think your degree is in HVAC or business management.
Well, eventually I did get my certificate through Mont, but no, when I was going to school at U of M, go blue, I kind of didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I've always been a really high energy, excited person. And so I would get into something and get really pumped up about it. And then kind of like be like, oh, well, now it's kind of like falling flat or stalling out. And something wouldn't like hold my attention. And kind of just by the grace of God, how things work out. My dad one summer was like, hey, I need help. I didn't have an internship or anything lined up. And I was like, okay, no problem. So then I became the shop hand and truck driver, and I got to go help out, deliver parts, deliver materials, be a part of crane lifts. And then, like I was saying earlier, like I just started to see all of the buildings and facilities and places we were going and all the different type of work that we were doing. And again, me like just being a high energy, like all in person. I've been doing this now for almost a decade and I've never had a boring day in my life or to a point where I'm like, oh, I don't know, like, maybe I've learned it all. It's forever changing. Like it's so challenging and exciting. So I did not anticipate my truck driver stint to be what kind of catapulted me to where I am today, but I fell in love with it. And as soon as I finished at U of M, I started working for us full time, and I was working in the field, doing construction install and service apprentice. And then at night, I was going to Mott Community College's HVAC program at night. Met some great people, still love that program. We just onboarded an apprentice who's really excited. He came from that program. He's like, oh my God, I heard all about you. And some of the teachers are still there. So that was a really great opportunity for me just to kind of be able to learn fundamentals, cut my teeth in, and be more educated. And I was talking to everyone as well on our team.
So how long were you in the field before you quote unquote made it into the office, into the
A
VP
couple of
seat?
years.
Okay.
So after that initial summer internship, then I was working for us throughout the summers, in between the school years at U of M, and then probably a couple years while I was doing my trade school. Um, then I moved into the office.
So you really earned the seat, which is great to see. It is also a rarity, right? There's a lot of family-owned businesses that I know of where the son or the daughter comes in and they're kind of just, dethroned into this seat of leadership when they maybe don't really even know what the business is fully. And it sounds like the route you took really lets you get your hands dirty, get your, boots on the ground and actually learn what the people you would one day come to lead have to do on a day-to-day basis. I think that's crucially important.
Yeah, I love that opportunity. I always joke that once you move into the office, you start getting gray hair and gaining weight. So I definitely like miss the days of of being in the field. And I think also once you kind of move into the more administrative role, a lot of your technical skills start to decline because you're not doing it all of the time. So I'd say I definitely miss it. I wish I could have more time and kind of get out in the field and I try to get out there enough where I can still have a good appreciation and kind of stay up to date on how our projects are going, how the teams are doing, and just keep a good pulse on everything. But I miss it. I think th- sometimes people idolize the office roles when you're working in the field.
Yeah.
And then when you move into the office, your roles, you're like, holy crap, it's not just pizza parties and, massage trains. Like, this is a different level of stress. And you also don't necessarily get the satisfaction of working on something with your hands, fixing something or building something. So then you really have to figure out how you can bring satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment when you're not just achieving tangible things anymore. So, um, we like to really have a lot of conversations around that because we've had some individuals who move into an office role and they're just like, I kind of hate this. Can I go back to the field? And we're like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. But for me, I think I definitely brought a different, like perspective to what we were doing in the office. I think I've been through 5 different software migrations now at this point.
Oh, wow.
We went from pen and paper, everything, to being fully paperless now, which is exciting, but it was a long journey. but it's been very exciting. I'm beyond blessed that my dad's been so receptive to a lot of the different changes that we've wanted to make that have helped us get more efficient and communicate more effectively, and more consistently to everybody on the team, not just the person who's sitting outside my door, or something like that. So I've been very, very blessed that my father, as well as everybody on our team, has been very adaptive to change, because I think that that can be something that's very heavily resisted at large, but especially in the skilled trades.
Well, and especially in a family-owned business. So let's stay on that for a second. You have taken roles from, if I'm not mistaken, 25 people to 200 plus in a pretty darn short amount of time. Most family businesses, let alone most regular businesses, period, would not survive that sort of transition. Either the culture would get diluted and lost, or the founder completely loses his touch on things. How did you and your dad navigate that transition? And it sounds like you did it together, kind of hand in hand, but how did that work?
We have a lot of A-plus people here. I brag about them all the team. Our mantra is that we're the best team doing the best work for the best customers. And I'd say every decision that we make, we try to zero back and make sure that it's in alignment with that mission. And from day one, we've had incredible tradesmen and women who work here, and our goal was to empower them to be their best selves. I can only be successful if everyone around me is as successful as they want to be. And we continue to just double down on being personal and focusing on our team rather than focusing on profit or efficiency or technology. And I think that brings everybody together and allows everybody to prosper, rather than just like changing for change's sake or focusing on the wrong thing. So I always call it common sense business practices, but I don't know if everyone would agree with that. But it's been really, really great. And I think we know we've made mistakes. We talk about the mistakes that we have made. We even just had a big all trades meeting for our service department, and we call it pro to pro, and we interview people on our team, leaders within each trade sector, and I interview them. And one of the questions is always like, what mistakes have you made, or what was the biggest mistake that you've made, and how did you learn from it? And I always preface it with a mistake that I've made and a couple other service managers. Like, everyone's going to make a mistake, but as long as you learn from it. We say our policies that we have today aren't the ones that we had 31 years ago. So you have to be willing to adapt, know when you made a mistake, and just continuing to be, that 1% better every single day. So I think it's just a combination of staying humble, staying people focused, and being willing to, keep improving.
I'm glad you brought up the people focus, because that's where I wanted to go next. So obviously the business is clearly working, and that's great. The real reason that I sought you out and wanted to bring you on here is the work you're doing, kind of ancillary to the construction company, right? The work that I see you doing, helping to build the people in the construction industry in general. Obviously, it's near and dear to my heart. My wife and I started a foundation to do just that. You also created the first Department of Labor recognized plumbing apprenticeship in the state of Michigan. Is this accurate?
That's true. And I now have a DOL and our DOL electrical and HVAC apprenticeship as well.
So tell me about that process, from a level of not the nuts and bolts of how you did it, but why did you do it? Why was it important, and what is it doing today for the people getting into our industry?
Well, there's a lot of great things that can come along with it once you kind of overcome the mountain of paperwork that's required to do it. But there are resources out there that'll help you. It one gets you recognition that you have an apprenticeship that exists. It's got structure to it. So when someone's considering getting into the skilled trades, they can actually see the curriculum, the hours associated to each one of those items that they need to study. It's got wage increments. So they can actually see over this 3 or 4 year apprenticeship what my wages increases are potentially going to be, so they can make a plan. It also once they complete the apprenticeship, they get to leave and go to, I mean, if they wanted to, but they could walk away with a certificate that is a Department of Labor recognized apprenticeship. I passed, and you actually can show these are all the different items in the field of study that I've spent X amount of hours on. And that brings real value to, wherever you're going to seek employment, but it also validates where you're at within our organization so that you can start working independently or continuing to progress throughout your career. Another nice thing that it does, and again, it kind of depends on some state funding, grants, opportunities. But for example, the apprentices that we just onboarded, they're getting anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 worth of tools reimbursed. And that could be your hand tools, gauges, meters, boots, kind of anything that falls within that tool allotment. And again, it just requires some paperwork on my end, but that's usually a really big barrier for people getting into the skilled trades, is spending thousands of dollars on hand tools. Or the technical piece, right? A lot of your employers don't really want to put in the legwork to get someone trained up to be a 3 years of experience type employee. They want to hire the 3+ year experience guy, but they're not willing to grow them. And for us, we're willing to make the investment. And I think in the end, our apprentices usually really do appreciate that. And then we also have a pathway for continued prosperity within our organization, and people can continue to stay and grow here. So for us, it kind of just made sense that we could have, additional funding and opportunities for them. If I'm willing to fill out some additional paperwork, I suppose.
So, round numbers, how many of those apprentices that go through the Rolls program actually stay and thrive at Rolls afterwards?
I would say almost 100%, unless it was an involuntary termination. So if
Okay,
someone just wasn't cutting it.
sure.
But if you manage to stay and do well within the organization, they're all staying at our company. You do have to have a pathway forward for them. So continued opportunities, we're really, really big on that. But I would say, I could be wrong, but I would say it's almost 100% of our apprentices stay within our organization.
That is fantastic. Um, so, like I mentioned, my wife and I started the Build Better Foundation in 2024. We provide scholarships, advocacy, all geared towards getting, I say kids all the time because it's primarily young people, but it's really for anybody, but geared to getting people into the trades. We're a Schaefer Construction's a paper GC, right? We don't have a huge labor need like yourself and Rolls and all of our other trade partners that we work with. So, from your side of the table, your view, what are you seeing on the ground that you wish people knew more about, that you wish people like us could focus on more? Because we're kind of, I wouldn't say we're shooting blind, right? I mean, we have good targets, but we're not in the same shoes that you are on a day-to-day basis. So what could we do better? How could we better help the trades in general, whether it's Rolls or anyone else?
I wouldn't say it's a narrative that I've seen specifically coming from Build Better Foundation, but I'd say like at large, when you look at trades marketing right now to try and attract people to the skilled trades, it's all about how much money you can make.
Yes.
And a lot of kids are looking at that, or just individuals at large, but are looking at that dollar amount and going, oh my God, yeah, I would love to make, all of that money. And they're looking at it because a lot of it's also being promoted as you don't need a college degree and you can make all this money. However, they're kind of failing to mention that it's going to take a while for you to acquire those skills to really validate that high end wage, which for sure you can make it out there, but you have to be willing to invest in yourself. And there's going to be a time period that you're not making that. I also think that they've been doing a lot of stuff to kind of like glamorize it. So in the end, it's still going to be hard work. There's long days. I've had a lot of kids who've come out of, not a lot, but I've had a couple kids who came out of trade school, just not even thinking about that. If you join let's just say for the HVAC team specifically, like HVAC construction, like new install team, you're working in a space that is not conditioned during that construction process. And that was like mind blowing to a few people where they were like, why is it so hot or why is it so cold? And I'm like, well, when we're on the install team, like when we install it and it's working, we leave. And similar to the service team, like a lot of the times our techs in the field are working on things because it's broken. So you might be in a conditioned space, but it's not working. And it's going to be hot as heck or freezing cold. So I think, we do need to do some things and communicate in ways to get people attracted to the skilled trades. But I would say you can't bamboozle people into showing up with the, you know, pie in the sky dream of you're going to make, $300,000 a year and it's going to be comfortable. It's probably going to be really uncomfortable and it's definitely not going to happen on day one. So, not really something I'm seeing from you guys, but I would say the kind of narrative at large is kind of creating a little bit of a toxic environment or misleading environment for employers on the back end.
Oh, we definitely see that too. And we've seen a lot of kind of fly by night trade schools start popping up
Yeah.
that charge a shit ton of money to kids, which part of the narrative of join the trades is you can go and get a successful career without going really deep into debt. But now we're seeing these trade schools that are charging way too much money, 20, 30, 40 grand a year, and they're pumping kids out with a certificate that means basically nothing, and then they still have to start at the bottom. And
Yeah.
and I agree with you completely. The narrative has been, back when I started, you didn't get into the construction space by choice, right? It was if you couldn't do anything else. Well, over the last few decades, it's changed, but now the narrative seems to be pushing like you can have no debt, you can make millions of dollars a year, and you never really have to work a day in your life, and it's just not the way it is. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. Let's keep talking about what building people actually looks like to you. Let's talk about a real person. Give me an example of someone, you don't have to name their names, but somebody at Rolls Mechanical who, let's say they came in very, very green. You didn't know if they were going to work out, but they've since elevated and become someone that you guys probably couldn't live without or certainly wouldn't want to. What does that look like?
Oh, I have like a list a mile long of people I'm so proud of and grateful to and inspired by from just their overall trajectory of what they've, from where they were at to where they've come. I mean, most of our managers or foremen have all started in the truck driver position for us and working in the shop and have moved up within the organization. So the the list is a mile long, but I guess the first person when you were talking that came to my mind was a gentleman who graduated from a technical school and a reputable technical school that we had hired people from before. Um, but he graduated during COVID, and it wasn't something that I really connected the dots on what that would look like because, again, we've hired people from there before. I myself have been to trade school, so we have a decent idea of what it's supposed to look like. Fantastic young man. His first day on the job, his journeyman calls me and is like, "What the hell? Am I being punked? Like, is this a joke?" And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" I mean, he was way more fired up. That was some censored
Yeah.
uh, verbs there. But I was like, "What's going on?" And he was like, "He doesn't know how to use any hand tools." He's like, "He didn't know that a drill has a battery in it." He's like, "He's got his 11-in-1 bits taped to the side of it." He's like, "Where the hell did you find this kid?" And I'm like, "Hold on, something must be wrong." So I call that individual. I'm like, "Hey, like, what's going on, man?" I said, "Carly, like, I didn't grow up using hand tools and I went through trade school and it was all online. You
Oh,
gave me
wow.
the tool list and I bought everything, but I guess I didn't like really think about using it." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Okay, well, I'll send you some YouTube videos of how to use everything you bought. Please watch them tonight and we'll do better tomorrow." And um, just a fantastic fella who takes constructive feedback and wants to do better and push himself. I mean, just so inspired by him. And he's actually someone who, throughout the course of his career with us, we did a positive impact plan with him. So a PIP and kind of like, hey, like, here's some things we really want you to be working on. He took it in stride and accomplished everything in record time for us. So successfully accomplished that. And then most recently, we hired on some apprentices in our most recent HVAC apprenticeship wave, and he's now one of our apprentice trainers and is fired up to be training the next generation and give someone else, an even better experience than what he had. So he's someone I'm just like always fired up for and cheering on and excited to continue to see him succeed.
As an awesome story. So going from not knowing how to use a drill gun to being the guy or the person who's teaching your new apprentices, that's huge. So mentorship, you've touched on that subject a couple times today. It's intentional at Rolls, and it's intentional with you. How does that look? Because there's a lot of groups, a lot of companies, they talk a lot about mentorship. They say that you'll have opportunities, you'll have a mentor, but a lot of them don't really follow through with it. It sounds like you've developed a pretty specific, pretty on purpose system that allows for this to happen maybe organically, but I'd like to hear more about it.
I would say it definitely doesn't happen organically because back in the day, we used to tell everybody like, hey, each year during performance reviews, like bring in whatever training you would like for the year. Just, whatever it is, as long as it's somewhat related to our trade. We're not going to do underwater basket weaving, but like anything else as it relates to your job, bring it and let's get you signed up for it. Guess how many training requests we got?
Probably not a whole lot.
Zero. And it was just like, what the heck? Like, guys, like, you all talk about this, but like when it comes down to like finding the class and sending me an email, no one's getting across the finish line. And it was kind of at that point where we decided as an organization that we, even if they don't want to send an email, we really do need everyone on our team to continue to learn, to grow, to better themselves. They want to do it. Maybe they just don't know what resources to be looking at and using. So we decided we were going to kind of take it on ourselves. So every year during employee reviews now, we sit down and get their feedback on what review or what classes and training they need. And then I make this running master list and kind of start picking it off based on highest, like most requested, most needed. We tailor that to the group that needs it or individuals that we kind of think might bring benefit to. So we're structuring classes that could be before work, after work, during the business day. We've done some stuff on the weekends just to get people in here when it's going to be a longer training class. Most of it's paid, some of it's voluntary, kind of depending on what the class is. But we're doing anything from technical training to 401k and market, how to invest. We just recently did a class on basic computer skills, which, when you get a lot of people who are moving up within the skilled trades, they might be a really great installer or technician out in the field. But when they get in front of a computer, they don't have those skills quite yet. So you have to really focus on meeting people where they're actually at in a genuine way, because then you can actually help people move forward rather than just kind of like, I don't know, doing blanket prescriptions. And not everyone needs chiller training. He needs basic electrical training, and everything in between. So we've really, no matter how big we've grown, we've kept that tailored approach to all of our training. I think that's made a really big difference on why some of our individuals on our team have been able to excel so quickly. And I also think that's a huge reason why so many people find us to be an attractive employer, because we really do stand behind our word on the training piece.
Well, it sounds like you actually talk the talk, which is huge. Does most of that training happen in house? Do you bring the trainers in and do it in your facility, or do you grab your people, whoever needs it, and send them off somewhere?
I think it depends on the training itself, but we're doing a combination of both. So there's some where we're sending technicians out to manufacturers, installers out to manufacturers, whether it's in Georgia. We've got guys who just came back from Maryland for manufacturer training. We've been to Lebanon, Tennessee for boiler training. I mean, all over the country. So it kind of just depends, but our teams, if you're in the service realm for us, you're meeting with your team every single month in our office, and in construction it's quarterly. And in those meetings they're doing training that is tailored to that very specific group and their skill set. And that might be something our training manager is putting together specifically for us, or we're bringing in outside vendors. So there's kind of a healthy combination. It kind of just, again, depends on what individuals need the specific training, but it's happening at a very regular cadence.
Gotcha. That's awesome to hear. And it's creating a pathway to winning, which is how I want to kind of wrap up today's chat. What does winning actually look like? So if Rolls Mechanical and the Build Better Foundation and other groups and folks like us that actually care about the industry, if we do our jobs, what does this industry look like in the next decade, in another decade rather?
The industry, well, I guess I always measure success here by our individuals. And to me, I really focus on people are healthy, are happy. They've got good work-life balance. I think that usually scares people out of the trades, instead of, you know, they can look at a desk job and they go, I'm going to be there from, 8 to 5, and I can have family and coach and do all of these things outside of work. So there's always going to be an emergency call in the end of the day, but having a team that can delegate some of that responsibility and it's not all on one person, and giving everybody on our team the opportunity to be there for the life moments that really matter. The work's always going to be there tomorrow, but your son's soccer game or daughter's swim team match, like, my dad was always there for us when we were growing up, and I want to make sure that everyone on our team has those moments. Because you don't live to work, right? You work to live, and we want to make sure everyone on our team is having those moments. A lot of those guys that I was thinking about when you asked the question of like who I'm, really inspired and proud of, like I can name several that have throughout their employment here gotten married, bought their first house, had kids. We've got some grandparents here now, and it's so exciting to me. So I really think that the skilled trades is a phenomenal place to be. And if employers continue to work on offering great benefits and wonderful work environments and cultures, then it can just be a place where people enjoy being and can be prosperous and have successful, well-rounded lives, that are also healthy. So I don't know. I think the industry at large, it's always going to be there and it should be there. And I just want to make sure that we continue to focus on our values. I think a lot of the ways it's being eroded, and I don't want to get into the whole private equity spiel and soapbox, but I think, your blue collar workers have built America, and through their, blood and sweat and hard work, we've got a pretty great country. And I just want to make sure that the employers out there and even the customers are doing right by them.
It's a good answer. And you said a couple things that kind of hit me in the heart. Some of my favorite moments as owner of Schaefer is we've had employees that could buy their first house, that could buy their first car, that, they came to me and said, hey, we've just put braces on my kids' teeth. Right. And like, it's really neat to be able to see that and know that you had at least some small part in helping that person, reach these milestones. That means a lot to family, because that's where it all starts. Right. And if all you do is work, there's no point, right? You have to have both sides of the equation. So last question, and I'll let you get out of here. You've been top 40 under 40. You've won national awards. You've spoken on lots of stages. You've gone to trade schools and promoted all these things. What is the one thing that you are most proud of that you've never gotten an award for?
Ooh, that's a good one. Huh. We've gotten some awards on our people and our culture. So I mean, I think I'm always the most proud of the individuals, and I can just my list of them can go on for miles. I would say the way that our team really comes together and supports each other, even in moments of tragedy. Um, Last summer, we had an individual who worked for us. He'd worked for us for a really long time, and a distracted driver swerved off the road and hit him and his wife, killing them on impact in their front yard.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they were young in their 30s and two small boys that they've left behind. And our team came together and raised a ton of funds to help, pay for a very unexpected funeral service for two people and to help set those boys up. And we've got a family day coming up this weekend where we bring everyone's allowed to bring their families, and we have, fun games that are kind of trades related. We've got an animal show, which is just fun. We're going to have all of our big equipment out there for people to kind of see, and kids to get in a bobcat. It's just stuff that they haven't seen before. We've got a junior tech competition, and it's really, that day to me is always one of my favorite, but I'm really, really excited because the two boys from the gentleman and his wife who departed us last June, they're coming this weekend because they're still a part of our family. And our team has just continued to try to be a part of a positive life for those boys and support each other. And there's so much of that we see across the board on our team of, making it more than just a paycheck and more than just an 8 hours punch in and punch out, and really building something special together. So, that's one that I don't ever want recognition for, ever. I just want to make sure that we protect that type of environment and culture, and really always make sure people are like giving a shit about each other. Like, there's just such a lack of community at large, I'd say, in the world. And, being able to have a community like that really does care is what means the most to me. So I'm fired up for this weekend and our family day and our people. And those would be some things I would say I'm most inspired by.
Well, that is a horrible story, but I would agree that that culture that you have built there is absolutely something to be incredibly proud of. Have a good time at Family Day this weekend. That sounds like a lot of fun, especially for the little kiddos. Carly, how do people get a hold of you if they want to chat?
They can check me out on LinkedIn, Carly with a K, Rolls Hoehn, and that's Hoehn. No one will ever guess it. But check me out on LinkedIn, or they can go to the LJ Rolls website, which is ljrolls.com.
Perfect. Carly, I really appreciate you coming in and giving us some of your time. It's been a fun conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Sounds great.
And with that, guys, we'll see you next time.